right, Vince, we're live. Thank you for taking the time today to do this interview. I really appreciate it on I guess, is it a holiday today? I've kind of forgotten what holidays are.
If you're a Christian and not a dirty heathen, I'm just sorry. That's supposed to be funny.
Yes, today's a Christian holiday, Good Friday.
Okay, so for the people who don't know you, the 5 of them that are there, Vince here is a business coach with a ton of experience, former military paratrooper, among other things. So tell us a little bit about what you do, Vince, and a little bit about the scotch you're pulling out.
Well, let's talk about more important things than me. Let's talk about scotch. Look at that. This just came in the mail the other day because we can't go to the store. So Arran Distillery from the Isle of Arran in southwest Scotland on the coast. So a nice clean dram glass. This is all natural color. It's from a previous sherry cask. So very, very nice. Yeah, 18 year, 46%. It is liquid gold in your mouth. Just trust me. Put that over there so you can drool. Okay. Slangeva. That's delicious.
So tell us a little bit about your approach to coaching.
Early days when I started coaching in 2010, it was really around the mechanics of a business. What are your productivity strategies around administration and finance and human resources, hiring, firing, onboarding, training, those sorts of things, as well as sales, marketing, operations. And so very much a generalist in all those areas. That's how I was trained. And, there was some extent to mindset. My background being military and high performance athletics, I played rugby for Calgary in the Super League. So as I'm coaching, I realize, some of the challenges people are having are less to do with the understanding of the strategy and more to do with the narrative in their head. So in the military, I remember we had this, I'm in the airborne regiment, it's a paratrooper regiment. We get a couple new guys in the unit and we've got a 16-kilometer morning run. And like, holy shit, that's far. Well, that's the shortest run we're ever going to do. So you're going to have to get used to that. But in their mind, they were already defeated. I remember one time we got dropped off late at night at around 10 o'clock at night. And we had to get to a certain location, which was about 10 kilometers away by 6 a.m. And there were some people out there looking for us, an enemy force per se. And another he's thinking, we are so screwed. We are never going to make it 10 kilometers, just freaking out. 10 kilometers through bush. And I just thought, man, you're a stress casualty and we haven't even taken our first step in the direction. As it turned out, we made it there by 5 a.m. We didn't get caught. So the mind, like I've had lots of athletes, and I'm sure we've all seen that athlete who's got talent and skill, but in their mind, they lose the game. In their mind, they lose their focus. They get distracted and they're not able to stay focused. And that's the reason. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why athletes don't move up the ladder, but
if you understand the game, if you understand the mechanics and you're fit and your mindset's not right, you're not going to go very far in sport. And the same as business. You can have all the mechanics in place, but if you're too afraid to adjust and move and take even calculated risks, it's going to compromise your success, compromise your growth, compromise your opportunities, or limit your opportunities. So as time went on, I got way more interested in the behavioral side of things and why people do what they do. I can read the income statement, so I think that's important. We've got to be able to connect behavior to the income statement. But I'll argue all day long that without the proper mindset, it doesn't matter the strategy will be flawed.
So how has the current situation affected you as a coach? I know a couple other my friends who are business coaches have had a couple struggles with it. How have you been affected?
Well, there's affected and there's effected. I'm not a thesaurus, but I really actually just put myself in a corner. I don't really know the difference. But I would say this, like other businesses, we have experienced a decrease in revenues. However, We've also experienced an upside. We have less commuting. You know, I was commuting 2 hours a day in between clients, starting the day, end of the day. So I have all that time back. I have more time to connect with people. There's opportunity everywhere. There's this book. The author is Benjamin Zander. The book is The Art of Possibility. And in the early parts of the book, talks about a shoe company sending 2 sales reps to Africa to sell shoes. And after 2 weeks, you know, the first sales rep reports back and says, situation hopeless. No one wears shoes. And then the other sales rep reports back and says, opportunity is everywhere. No one wears shoes. So some people are sitting around thinking situation is hopeless. COVID is everywhere. And other people are looking at the exact same data, exact same facts, the exact same reality. And they're saying, you know what? Opportunity is everywhere. COVID's here. So I have more time with my family. I have more time with my clients. I have more time with my friends. I do these WTF sessions, which is exactly what you think it is. It's WTF, man, like things suck. Okay, how do we get unstuck and back in the game? Or WTF, man, there's opportunity all over the place. How do I manage it all? So that's sort of the gist. The nice thing is just less travel. I got the same tank of fuel in my vehicle for the last 3 weeks. I don't think I've gone more than 100 clicks.
So that kind of rolls right into my next question then. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs staying positive throughout this situation and looking on that bright side? I think especially for ones that are in industries related to events and non-essential businesses that have been shut down, things like that.
You know what? For some, it's a really good question. For some, they really are in a jam. You know, we have a friend who has a cafe and he's in a jam. You know, like physical distancing is forcing a lot of businesses to close. Another client, the physical distancing rules and the health of their clients and their medical staff have forced a massage clinic, prenatal clinic, to close its doors until the end of until we can reopen. So for some people, there's this real challenge. So to sit around and tell people, you know, you got to be positive, Jonathan. Well, you know, I just had to close my business and you're telling me to be positive. I've just lost 100% of my revenue or 60% of my revenue, and you're telling me to be positive. I can't go see my family, you know, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, and you're telling me to be positive. I mean, here's the question. Let's just say that you're in the big suck tank and you're feeling pissy and I say, Jonathan, just be positive. What's your initial response up here? Like, what are you thinking? You're in a bad mood and I'm saying, Jonathan, be positive. Just be positive. What are you thinking, honestly?
I'd probably be very frustrated with you.
Yeah. So here's this. Don't worry about being positive. Just don't be negative. And here's the difference. Trevor Mawad, Moawad, we can put it down in the links below. Trevor Mawad is where I learned this from. He just released a book called It Takes What It Takes. And he said something I'd never heard of before, which is neutral thinking. Now I've done it before. I just didn't know I was doing it. So positive thinking, negative thinking, the mindset of the athlete, the mindset of the soldier, the mindset of the entrepreneurial warrior. We all know that thinking positive doesn't always work, but thinking negatively always does, and it works negatively. So whatever we think, and we can't control our thoughts, we can't control at least the initial thought, we can control the follow-up thought. But that initial thought that comes into our head is predicated largely by the lizard brain, which is 100% scanning for threat. 75% of its language to the rest of the brain it's like a fire alarm all the time. And it just amplifies it. So we have all this negative thought show up. But if we are to say something out loud, it's amplified to the power of 10. And negative always works negatively in the negative direction, but it's amplified 4 to 7 times more. In other words, negative language is amplified 40 to 70 times more than positive. So if you can't be positive, then be neutral. And neutral is this, we're, you know, in using an athletic example, it's let's say it's Calgary Flames are losing 6-1 and they're in their third period. You know, if someone comes up and says, don't worry, Johnny's going to score 3 goals in this half and Monahan's going to score the other 3. Like, come on. Let's just look at the actual facts. What's do the real data say? and then just reserve opinion to say, what's the next best behavior? Let's just focus on the next behavior. In athletics, I would always coach my athletes and just say, play whistle to whistle. Don't worry about the score. Don't get caught up by being ahead too far or be behind. Just focus whistle to whistle. So don't worry about being positive. Just don't think negative. Don't say stupid shit out loud. And if you need help, just recruit a friend or a colleague or a spouse or whoever, and just say, hey, monitor my language. I don't want to say anything negative out loud. It's the likelihood of it becoming a reality is just don't want to entertain that. So think neutral or positive.
So I've had a couple people ask about meditation and mindfulness, and I know over the last couple of years, meditation especially is something you've really dived into.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for people, first of all, getting into it at a basic level, and how it can potentially help with stress?
Let's first understand what meditation is for. Meditation is to kind of, if we go to sleep at night, we want the body to rest, like physical rest. But if we got a lot of narratives in our head and we're worried about this and worried about that, doesn't matter if it's a challenge or it's an opportunity, the head's just racing. I mean, have you ever gone to bed and the head's racing and you can't sleep? So one, just whatever you're thinking about, write it on a piece of paper, leave it alone, get that thought out of the head, because the brain automatically goes into this little memory loop game and it consumes a lot of energy, and it's hard to go to sleep when you're constantly thinking of this memory loop. So just write it down and get it out. Sleep is for physical rest. Meditation is to reduce the level of anxiety we're dealing with. And the body is not great at doing both at the same time when you go to sleep. So we can actually get better sleep if we can separate meditation and sleeping. Take the tasks away. Just to sleep, when we go to sleep, the amygdala, the lizard brain that's constantly hitting the fire alarm and saying threat, 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 we can shut that baby off when we go to sleep. So if you need a rest and you're just tired of the story in the head, you know, whether it's a nap or a sleep, you can shut that fire alarm off completely until you wake up again. Meditation, it's going to help us in conjunction with breathing. So inhale for 3 or 4, hold for 1, exhale for 6, hold for 1, repeat that cycle. When the body can take that big, full inhale all the way into the stomach, the belly's called the third lung. We can take in that big, giant inhale. It signals to the body that, hey, you know what? You're safe. If you can just sit here and breathe, then you must be safe. We can trick the brain, hey, we're safe, okay? So that's why we want to meditate and breathe in conjunction. And for me, I started 2 years ago. I literally started with 2 minutes. I thought, okay, first of all, I was not even willing to admit out loud that I meditated, as if there was something spooky about that or something to judge about that. But I meditate every day. I do about 18 minutes is my current average. I use an app called Insights Timer. It's free. It's kind of nerdy. It tracks a bit of data, so I like that. But just start at 2 minutes. That's it. Anybody can sit and close their eyes and breathe for 2 minutes. And don't worry about these thoughts flowing through their brain. Thoughts are not you. You're just the first one to hear it. You are not the thought. So don't worry about the thoughts in your brain. Just, you know, put your clothes back on, put your microphone back on, do whatever you got to do. Yeah, don't worry about those thoughts in your head. Just let them go by like a leaf in the wind. Just let it go by. And then the more you do it, the more practice you get at it. Meditation's a practice. It's a discipline. And you can't finish meditation, you know, like you can take Lego and finish the little fire truck, but you can't finish Netflix. You can't finish yoga. You can't finish meditation. So don't worry about that. There's no scoreboard. Just sit there, close your eyes and breathe. So that's the benefit. Hope that made sense. If you got questions, ask below.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a way to look at it that a lot of people that aren't entrepreneurs or in a high stress lifestyle that utilize meditation, it'd be a good way for them to look at it, because you definitely have the other side of it that it's appealed to by, what's the word? People that aren't doing it to improve performance or improve sleep or things like that. They're just doing it as part of some thing that they consider spiritual. So it's interesting to look at the benefits like that. I know I was listening to a podcast where they interviewed Ray Dalio,
Yes.
the founder of one of the largest hedge funds and top 100 wealthiest people in North America. And he said it was one of the biggest things for him, and he does it every day. And it was
Jerry
one of the top things he recommends.
Yeah, sort of jump on you there. Jerry Seinfeld attributes a lot of his success and clarity and thought to meditation. If it's not obvious to anybody, I live with ADHD. Meditation is one of the best resources I have, along with exercise, along with nutrition, along with sleep, to help regulate my thoughts, to help regulate my thinking, to help just regulate behaviors. So a lot of entrepreneurs, I only bring that up because a lot of entrepreneurs also live with ADHD, and it's not a disorder, like respectfully, F off. It's a learning difference. So we just think differently. One example is a Ferrari engine in the brain, but bicycle brakes. I can hyperfocus great. I just can't get off the tracks very easily. So once I'm in a rut, I just pour the gas on, which can be great for getting stuff done, as long as it's not as long as it's not a bunch of comments on Facebook. Leave those for weekends and evenings. But today I posted a fun video and I couldn't help but play on Facebook for a while. But like I said, a lot of entrepreneurs, give yourself some compassion. A lot of us live with ADHD. We don't have ADHD. We live with it. I learned that from Jim Button, who said, I don't have cancer. I live with cancer. So reframe it. Reframe the perspective. Stop identifying with something as a label for me. So start with that. Stop identifying ourselves as a particular label or a title or position, and just recognize who we are, and that we live with certain experiences. We are not the experience. We live with the experience.
Yeah, I think that reframing is important. Okay, so let's go a little bit darker here. Talk about difficult subject matter.
Like that kind of dark?
A little bit darker. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs that think they might not make it through this? There's speculation that this is going to last till the end of June. And a lot of events-based businesses with overhead, businesses like restaurants that have a commercial lease that they can't get out of. Some of them just cash flow's gone. What advice do you have for them for weathering a really difficult storm?
Let's just admit the reality. If you think like that, you're done. Right? If you think like that, you're done. Just imagine you and I are being deployed overseas on a military operation. And I come up to you and say, Jonathan, I don't think I'm going to make this tour. I have a bad feeling. I think I'm going to get smoked. What are you thinking about me?
Probably that you're not a good person to have my back.
I'm so worried about me. I'm not even taking care of you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I've recognized those mindsets, behaviors being verbalized in the military and in athletics. I remember my very first game of rugby in Calgary. We were in the locker room. I'm barely I'm a full year out of the Army. And a guy on the team, he says, I wonder how much we're going to get beat by the Hornets today, the other team. I'm like, what did you just say? We haven't even left the locker room and you're already talking about how badly we're going to lose. Like, I wasn't the team captain. I didn't make the team selection, but I was like, this guy cannot be on our team. Can't. So we've got to reframe the situation. First of all, we are not so unique that we're the only one in this pickle. There's 79,000 businesses in Calgary, and COVID comes along. It doesn't matter if it's COVID or if it's the energy section, or if it's, the transition in, one industry to another. We are always faced with challenge. Thus, embrace the suck. Okay. So we got to reframe the situation. If you think you're good, Danica Patrick, NASCAR driver, she's retired now, first female, I think, and maybe only female NASCAR driver, whatever. Her dad said to her, when you're in the car driving, never look over your back. Like, always look forward. Your car goes where you look. Same for business. And a person has to say, just look at the data. If they need to close, they need to close. If they stay open on changed hours and reduce staff, they've got to look at the data and they've got to make some very real decisions. Memphis Belle, the movie. Are you familiar with that movie?
No.
You've got to watch it or we cannot be friends. So the Memphis Belle is a B-17 bomber, I believe, B-29 bomber or something. It's World War II. And they leave England and they fly over Germany, they drop their bombs and they come home. And this is the 25th, you do 25 bombing runs and you're allowed to go home. The war is over for you. So Memphis Belle is being recorded because this is their deal. Well, the last mission, they get shot up pretty bad in the movie. They get shot up pretty bad. Now they got to make it home. And it's kind of like COVID showed up, right? Their whole reality is screwed up. They're down an engine. They're losing fuel. Something's on fire. They've got an injured teammate in the aircraft. All these things suck. Fair enough, right? Life sucks. I get it. So they say, okay, let's look at the data. We have to go this far on the map to get from where we are to get safely in England. Okay, so what do we need to do? Throw off everything on the plane, because it takes energy to keep that plane in the air. Throw off everything on the plane that we don't need to cross the English Channel. We don't need the guns. We don't need the ammo. We don't need that box over there. We don't need, whatever is weight on the aircraft, get rid of it. So here in Calgary, we have COVID. I always say it's a lot like a big, long red light. 2 questions. Where are you in the queue? Are you right up front, meaning when the light turns green, you're back in business like that? A cafe could be very much like that reality. They just need hot water and coffee beans and some cookies and they're in business. But maybe they're farther in the queue. Maybe they're like a restaurant. There's, 10,000 restaurants in Calgary and they're all going to be calling GFS for food, fresh produce. So you might not be in business the very next day. So where are you in the queue, number 1? And number 2 is how much gas in the tank? And can you afford to turn off the car while you're at in the line? Or do you got to keep it running 24/7? So everyone's business model is different. But at the very least, look at the top line revenues, reach out to your customers, find out the reality of that, no burying our head in the sand. Look at all our expenses, justify every single one, go through all of those, and then rally the team. Google adaptive challenge. If any, all those listening, Google the difference between technical challenge and adaptive challenge. How we lead is very, very differently. A technical challenge, you got a flat tire. We know how to do it. We know how to change it because we've been there before. But COVID's an adaptive challenge. It's not a technical challenge. So we got to lead completely differently. Google it. It'll make sense to anybody else. So, but back to your original question, if the mindset is shit, I don't think I'm going to live. You're right. You're not. You're going to die. And that sucks. But the body behaves the way the mind thinks. So don't program your body to think it's going to die. Metaphorically, no one needs to die.
It's good advice, Vince. So final question to wrap up here. What has been your biggest challenge in the last month?
A couple challenges. So one is managing opportunity. I'm probably working I'm probably working about 10, 11 hours a day every day. And there's just so many things that I want to do and say and people to talk to. Second thing is activity when I would drive to work, I would talk to my wife during the in-between because she's a colleague and we're business partners. So we'll talk a lot. And then on the way home, we'll talk a lot. In between client sessions, we'll often talk. So there's probably an hour and a half a day me and my wife talk while I'm commuting. That's gone. So as business partners, we realized it was about 8 days in when we realized we weren't communicating very well. So that compromised a few things. The other thing was I had a gym membership. So I'd go to the gym in the morning and then I'd start my day. Well, now I stopped going to the gym. So we've had to retool our morning routine so that how we start the day is really, really important. You think of 2 bookends on a bookcase. This is the morning of the day. This is the end of the day. Those are really critically important. And I kind of was like a bookcase without bookends for a little while. So that was a challenge. It wasn't super obvious what my issues were. But, and of course, just like all the other human beings out there, I like people. I like hanging out with you in real life. I like hanging out with my friends and seeing my clients face to face, going to grandma's house for dinner. I like that. I miss that. So we just have to be creative and just remember, this is not temporary. people, please don't make lifetime decisions over temporary feelings. Really important. Don't make lifetime decisions based on temporary experiences and temporary feelings. And drink good single malt whiskey. A dram a day, it's like a throat sanitizer. And grow a COVID beard. I haven't had a beard in my entire life.
I buzzed mine. It was a lot thicker, but figured I should make it a little bit more ruly.
I had no idea how gray this would get, or silver.
I'm surprised too.
It's just on the other side of itchy, so the itchy is over.
Oh, good. I'm excited to see how far your beard gets.
I am too. It's kind of, I don't even recognize myself when I look in the mirror like, who is that guy? But it's interesting. And I've never stared at myself so much because of Zoom, right?
Yeah.
I got this scar here in rugby. It got split open, 19 stitches around my eye in the orbital socket. And sometimes that's all I see. Like, there it is, right? Just.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, thanks for doing this. You're going to do more of these, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to do 3 a week if I can. The next ones up are Sean Freeman on Monday and Alex Boudicca on Wednesday.
Sean's got nothing good to say. Whatever Sean says, delete it, because what does he know, right?
It must be his coach's fault.
I'm an entrepreneur. I build and sell businesses. I hire people. Yeah. Yes. Sean's a great resource. He just wrote a great blog article today, published it on LinkedIn. Everyone should go read that. It's legit. I'm not saying that because he's a client. I say that because he's genuinely, he's a guy that takes time to reflect and he looks for the needs of others. I love the guy. So, call that confirmation bias. I don't care. He's a good dude. So,
yeah. Well, I appreciate
who are the others?
Actually, I have a big list of about 18 lined up that I'll want to get involved. So to just name a couple, Kyle Schufelt, Olympic gymnast. He's coming up.
Great.
Megan Stanley talking about people and dogs. Lindy Rock talking about working from home.
Lindy's my
the
girl.
videographer from Lethbridge. Lots of interesting ones.
Good. Awesome. Yeah, these are really switched on people in the community. And more than ever before, we need each other, right? Like, stuff I don't know. I need to know what you know. How do I do this stuff like you're doing? I've got a couple interviews lined up and I need your advice on how to run it.
Well, I can help out.
Yes, you can.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today, Vince. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the insight.
Yeah, my pleasure, pal. Always. Anything you're on to, I'm always interested in supporting. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you. And we'll talk again soon.
Let's see your whiskey. There you go. You got a cheers, man. Where's the camera? There you go. Cheers. There you go. Oh, they're so good. I like sniffing it as much as I like drinking it.